welcome back to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic, coaching, healing, and now the facilitator of Magic School. I'm joined today with Brittany Biggett-Heeren. Brittany is a passionate advocate for women's health and wellness. Coming from a family of healthcare professionals, she initially pursued a path in medicine before discovering her true calling, empowering women to find their strength. After noticing a gap in support for pregnant and postpartum women in fitness, Brittany combined her expertise in health information management with her passion for advocacy. She went on to create PVF Tribe, a community dedicated to providing safe and supportive fitness, and expanded her expertise into maternal mental health and pediatric behavioral support. Brittany is currently expanding her business, completing her Master of Jurisprudence in Health Law, and collaborating with organizations like Postpartum Support International to support mothers everywhere. Brittany, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Look, hearing you speak, I know I gave you that bio. It feels very unreal, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, everyone says that. And I often say bios are kind of the hardest part in this space and time, only because as women, we're not just a title in a company anymore. Not that we were ever, but it felt like that was the old vibe. I grew up in corporate, so 20 years, right? So it was like, I'm Amy, I'm X role at X company. Now it's like, oh, I mean, even you heard me say with my business, I coach, I heal, and I teach magic school, and I have a podcast. You know, it's just like, it's all the things. So it gets to be whatever you want to say.
Basically.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
I'm just excited to be here and excited to talk to a fellow woman to woman. And again, in the podcasting game, I'm just really excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. And I'm honored to have you here. Your vibe and what you do and create for this world, advocacy, is the entire reason that Women Making Moves was created. My warrior part of me, my soul, was like, hey, can we get some airtime? Like, can we say the things out loud and talk about the things that we still don't know about women's health? Not to mention,
Ooh.
for a long time, starting in 93, let's be honest, it was likely mostly white women's health, right? So it's like, okay, I try to find this balance between getting really annoyed that it took so long and gratitude for where it's going because of women like you.
I will say this, like, especially in the current administration we have now, trying to roll back as much progress as we have made already. I'm just happy that there are conversations even being had, to be honest. If you cannot see, I am a Black lady. And in a sense for myself, and I have been a corporate girly for 10 plus years, and kind of seeing how Black and brown women are treated in the system is vastly different to white women. And so that really inspired my business. Starting off my career, I worked at the largest birthing facility in the state of Florida, and I live in Orlando. So there's like a huge population. I call it like a cultural melting pot. Different languages, different cultures, different experiences. And you can see the difference in how people are treated when they don't speak a particular language or they have a particular insurance. And I built I don't want to say my identity, but I built my organization, my business, and what I want to do to help people for them to be able to be seen. Because sometimes in those corporate spaces, you're not seen a lot of times. You're just kind of a number on a whiteboard, to be honest.
Yeah. That's what again, in the spirit of balance. Yeah, right. And as an energy coach, I know that what energy I put out, I get back. I get that. And also, we're in a space of time where women specifically are being asked to pioneer the new existence, where all humans, the baseline is the birthright of being a human on this planet. That's what we are creating. So we get to hold the entire spectrum of being like ragey as hell sometimes and holding the light so strongly that everyone can see through to see how are we doing this. So that's my philosophy anyway, especially in this time and place.
I have my own political stance on certain things, but with my content, I try to be very neutral. And
I do too.
try to be very neutral and like give them the facts, especially
Yeah,
with getting my master's in health law of like, yes, I'm an Aries.
me too.
I'm an Aries. I'm passionate about my stuff. I'm passionate about what I put my stake in, but at the same time, I've learned over time that sometimes my passion can come off as very on people. And so just trying to keep that middle line of like, here are the facts, here are the information, do what you want with it. I'm giving this out to you because I want you to make the best decision possible. Again, you can lead a horse to water, but the horse doesn't have to drink the water.
So we're both fiery Aries. The thing
Hmm.
about that is, I've always been told you're too passionate, it's too much, you're too intense. And I'm like,
Yep.
and especially in corporate. And so on this platform, like, let's be too much. Let's go there in a place where we're still not creating a villain, but we're saying the things out loud that we're passionate about. That's the whole vibe because we're helping others find their own unique voice and
Mm.
and what they stand for. I just want an equal playing field. Like
Yeah.
I don't want anybody in the dugout. And I love that you started out with we've made so much progress, and that progress is built on top of the systems that didn't include us.
Hmm.
So that's still to me, it's like, is it ever going to have a foothold?
I think people still advocating. I think the system was built the particular way to not include others that don't necessarily fit the mold, honestly. And people, again, use astrology. I'm an astrology girly. The Aries, the people that see the issue and point it out and are very much, you know what? I'm not seeing this being done. Let me use my resources and my knowledge to create a community or a system that could be a part of the system to help. And I think for me, I've always been that type of person, even in corporate America. I've always been the, hey, there's an issue. We need to fix this to make it more inclusive of other people because it's not going to work. Now, was it always agreed upon? No. But down the road, people realized I was right and I wasn't purposely vocalizing issues to be an issue. I'm vocalizing because I see 6 months down the line, this will be an issue and you're going to burn everybody out. And then we're not going to have people, and you're going to have to rehire the entire team all over again when you want to keep the retention of that team.
I
So,
mean, we've had so many conversations on this show about that specifically because there's not going to be anyone to pass the torch to in business because Gen Z and millennials are like, we're out. Like,
oh,
because we don't want it.
I was a assistant manager for, I'm going back in my brain. I have the chronic disease, the anxiety, and the t-shirt. I'm good. Thank you very much. Because it's like and I'll say this, watching my parents be in leadership positions, and again, it could be a generational thing. They got certain benefits. Where here, I'm just like, I'm having sleepless nights. I'm not getting an ounce of peace. And even around the time I started my leadership position, I was dating my husband at the time. He was my boyfriend. And he was looking at me, he's like, you getting up at 5, you're not leaving work till like 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. He's like, there's no balance. And I'm just like, again, the DW meme. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't read that sign. Because it's been dated in me as a millennial, like you work hard, you sacrifice, and you get the prize at the end of the rainbow. And as time was going on, I was like, nah, the prize looks different.
It,
And my mental health and who I am as a person and me being able to wake up and not have anxiety attacks is really important to me,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. And that's the new success criteria for a lot of us. And I think you bring up a great point. I don't know, the incentives that
Uh,
used to be around for, especially let's say boomers, oh, those don't exist anymore. And, X got squished in between somewhere and they're not, it just depends on like where they are in the comfort level. But I feel like millennials are the first big wave generation that are just like, no, thank you. And Gen Z's not even playing. They're just like, no.
is it not my job description? Did I sign off on this? No, but I'm going to take that 5 o'clock. I'm done and I leave.
And
And
I love them for that. Love,
I was like, you can do that.
right?
I was like, and they didn't get in trouble for it. Oh my goodness, I love that for them.
I love that for them.
And,
And I've seen a lot of older generations just getting mad about that. And I'm like,
hmm.
are you mad because you didn't have the same opportunity to say no, thank you? Or like, are
Basically,
you
basically.
you're in your feelings about something that just wasn't available to you back then,
I think, and even kind of seeing on social from a lot of older generation, like, well, we had to do it this way. And I
Cool.
think
Cool.
that's a conversation I've had even with my family of the world is set up a different way. We're transitioning into a different world than what it was for y'all.
Yeah.
It's different for me and my sister and my husband and his family. Like it's so much different. And
Yeah.
I think for the elder generation, they're like, what do you mean it's different? It can't be that much different until they start coming out into the world and everything. Like even like I'll use an example of dating. Like before I was dating my husband, my mom's like, "Oh, dating can't be that bad." And then I'm like, "Come on this journey with me, mother. Look at the dating apps." And then like she would hear the dates and everything, and she's like, And she's been with my dad for like 30 plus years. So for her, she's just like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yeah, it is a completely different ball game." Now take that in dating and take that into corporate space. Take that into trying to buy a house. Take that into trying to build your career. Just take that into different spaces, and it's not even on the same playing field or level at all
No,
whatsoever.
I actually shared that with a boomer family member recently because they just kept coming back with, well, in my day and when in this and this didn't happen in my world. And I finally said, the world you know doesn't exist. And they were taken aback by that. I was like, let me explain. It just it just doesn't exist. It probably hasn't for, I don't know,
Oh my
maybe the past
gosh.
25 or more. I don't know. I don't know the turning point. We could probably go back and find that, especially after COVID. Like, come on.
Oh, I think COVID was the big cherry on top. Again, I'm an astrology girly. I was just like, so Pluto has transitioned from Capricorn into Aquarius, where Capricorns are very structured, very all the things. And I think like around last year it went into Aquarius, where Aquariuses are not I don't want to say unserious, but more community based, more like the structure
Oh,
is not working. We need to transition into a community
yeah.
based society. That was around the time I was just like, I don't think I like corporate America. I think I want to transition and work with the community.
And ever since March this year, where we had a huge transit, like everyone's
Yep.
DNA is getting upgraded,
Yep.
whether you like it or not. So it's like,
Hmm.
it's just varying degrees on how you're going to vibe and like how you're going to walk in this. And we're out here creating the space, the business, the vibration for all humanity. And, you know, everyone will at some point. It's everything's at a fever pitch and nobody's okay. And let's navigate the best we can.
Yep. I think everyone's just trying to push past it. I think, again, on social media, everyone's just like, the world is imploding, but I still have bills to pay. I still have things to do.
Yeah.
I still have my livelihood. And I can see it from both ends of me being the Aries, like, no, I'm gonna make the change happen. And then a part of me is sympathetic of just like, but if you have responsibilities and other things
Totally.
that are relying on you, I get why, but eventually the cookie will crumble and you're gonna have to come this side. And I'll have it all set up for when you're ready to come over here.
We set up. And that's just it. And it's part of that goddess vibe of holding the entire spectrum of being acutely aware of how hard and detrimental it is for everybody on some degree right now, and
Mhm.
also looking toward what we do want to create so that we can stay focused in that light. And I still have bills, of course. It just no longer dictates everything about my life necessarily.
It's not your North Star. I heard it in grad school. I think at a time where, again, go back to being a corporate 9 to 5 girly, like going up that ladder, that was your North Star, like getting that promotion, getting that raise, getting the accolades, getting put on like the wonderful intranet Swift page, whatever it's called. That is amazing. But now you're just like, no, there's more to that. And even for me, like I have built me and my husband before I left corporate, like we had serious conversations of financially what's going to happen to us and what are we going to take back and what are we going to move forward with so we can make this work for the both of us because it's not just me going on alone, it's me and my husband.
Right.
And so I will say this sometimes, I'm very grateful for my husband who believes in me, and sometimes a lot of times people don't go on the limb because they don't have a person that's going to back them and believe in them, honestly. Now
Right.
there's a bit of realism with that belief of like, okay, there's a bit of realism, but I think a lot of times people don't take that leap. It's because they don't have the village. I like to call it the village. They don't have that village around them. And sometimes the
Right.
village that they've developed is the village that they're comfortable with. And the village is sometimes not necessarily looking at it from the best point of view of the person that's trying to do something. They're like, we want to keep you safe. We want to keep you
Yeah.
here in this space. But sometimes the space, and I can speak for myself, is detrimental to your mental health to the point where you cannot function and you cannot you just can't function as the person you thought you were. You're a shell of yourself, which is very unfortunate.
That's what actually was my ultimate invitation from my guides and spirits when I was back in corporate. I had been awakening for a little while, but it was still like, and then, I was paired with a workplace psychological abuse for
Mm,
about 10 months. And it got to the one last straw moment where I said, today's my last day. It was something that my husband and I were like, let's wait till February. Let's get the bonus. You worked so hard this whole year. Let's get the money. And I was like, oh, nope, it's today. And we weren't prepared for it. And it just,
yeah.
so that's what I try to stoke now within the women I serve is sometimes, and it's part of my story that I had to blow it up and have it be like today's my last day. And it was supposed to be all that. Yes. And I try to help women navigate when they're getting that inkling so that it both isn't a detriment to their health, but also they can build a little bit of a runway for themselves
Mm.
so that they didn't have to do something as brash as I did. And again, if you need to burn it down, but just that's what I try to help women identify because this cosmic awakening that's happening right now, people come to me, they're like, why do I feel so different? Like everything that felt good even like a month ago doesn't. I'm like, yeah. And they don't know that they're experiencing an awakening.
Oh yeah.
So it's like helping them kind of navigate through that without scaring them.
And it's scary because again, we grew up in a system where like this is what you should be happy that you're receiving. And then you're like, again, the wake you talked about the awakening. You're like, I know this is what I'm told I should be happy about, but I'm not happy about it. And
Mm.
then you add on top for myself as a Black woman, you go in these spaces and you put on the extra of like code switching and changing your hair and your appearance and playing the game to get along. And you add that on top of working and then everything else. It drives us down even a further path of mental deterioration that I can attest to it of just like, I'm exhausted. And I think, again, like, talk about that awakening. I think I had that awakening of like, yeah, I'm tired of playing the game because the game is just not worth it at this point that I have to sacrifice again, the Aries in me of like, I have to taper myself down. I have to be quieter. I know this person's wrong, but I can't say anything because they're in leadership. And even I had conversations with my mom before I kind of did the same thing you're doing. Like, here is my 2 weeks. I'm done. um, I can't be myself. And again, my parents are of older generation. Like, well, that's just part of the journey, my love. I'm just like, mm-mm.
Not mine. Not my journey. Mm-mm.
I can't do it. And my mother-in-law, when I first was transitioning in corporate to like another leadership role, where I was concerned about my older department, and this saying stays in my head, where she was just like, Lincoln was, but the union still survived. She's like, you can leave that position and that department is still going to run without you. And so as time has gone on and I've transitioned, that saying my mother-in-law has taught me just sticks in the back of my head.
We're out. We're out here. We're out here in the wild, creating the new. What is the PVF Tribe?
So the PVF Tribe is basically a wellness hub. So it focuses on fitness for pre and postnatal patients and clients and childhood behavioral education. So I am a group fitness instructor for 5+ years. I teach a multiple of formats from Pilates to yoga to dance. Dance is my first love. Like if you go on the website, there's a photo of me literally in the adult group fitness class and my little keeping up with the adults. So my focus is on bringing health and wellness to pregnant and postpartum women, which I've taken note there's not a lot of focus on. I think it also triggered something in me when I was teaching a group fitness class and I had a pregnant participant walk in and she left early. And I was like, ooh, I see there's a need here. And so I got my group fitness pre and postnatal certification. I'm getting a specialization certification and maybe a Pilates one in a little bit that specializes in that. And I'm utilizing my platform to bring awareness. You can still move your body in different ways. It may not be the way you're used to, but it's okay to move your body in this form of fashion. And then you add on the podcast. I'm using my health law degree to utilize my podcast, the Wednesday Wellness Debrief, to bring tips and just education on different changes that are happening in the United States pertaining to maternal health. Even local stories. Like I had a local story here in Florida where there was a hospital that was closing their OB ward and how that impacts social determinants of health using all the wonderful things, basically the building blocks of your healthcare. And the behavioral health aspect, I want to get into health coaching for families. So I'm in the process of trying to work with the Pediatric Health Coaching Academy. So that incorporates the pre and postnatal, the health coaching, all that into one to help families. Because again, as time is going on and I'm working in healthcare, a lot of physicians aren't replenishing as quickly as they would like to. And even the healthcare system in the United States is so overwhelmed by people coming in that a lot of times people are going in more so like people need a conversation, people need a plan. A hospital is more like a reactive, kind of like a, put a band-aid on it, come back to us if you need us. Where if you have a plan, a dead set plan to communicate, okay, what are your goals? What are you trying to figure out? What do you need? What does your family need in the long run? I feel as though that is a better treatment plan than trying to keep going back to the hospital where A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And health coaching, you can use it in your medical record and it gives you better care at the hospital so they can get a whole picture of that person comparatively to just the person walking in, oh, you have a broken arm. I was like, well, how did they get the broken arm? What is their surroundings? Do they have the care to go home? Do they have the care to get to their doctor? Just all of those things. So
Both of us being coaches, we know a lot of coaches. I feel like coaching has presented itself as a need because I find that as a life coach and energy coach, I feel the gaps between what therapy might not be
yeah.
or what a mentor might not be or like an executive coach might not be. I'm the in between and it feels like that's true of anything. So a health coach fills the gaps with a core team that's
Yeah.
advocating for your health besides,
Mm-mm.
so it's having someone to understand not just the system, but also the health itself to be able to help you navigate through. So in this space and time, coaches are filling a lot of the gaps in society where the cookie cutter approach just doesn't work.
It doesn't. And again, like I know I mentioned social determinants of health, like it's individualized care. The cookie cutter approach, again, I can attest as a Black woman in the medical health space, a treatment plan for someone of a particular race or a particular gender or a particular feeling is not going to be the same for me. Like I have full transparency. I've said it on my podcast. Like I have high blood pressure. I have chronic hypertension. And so for me, a treatment plan for me probably wouldn't be the same for someone else who doesn't have chronic hypertension. And again, I live in a different neighborhood comparatively to someone else. And so again, I think health is so focused on hospitals and doctors where there are other people that can help. There's a huge array of help. Like even I'll use like pelvic floor health because I'm studying that right now. I interviewed a physical therapist and a pelvic health floor therapist. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. And so getting out there and realizing, oh, there are other things outside of doctors that can be an addition to your healthcare, not a replacement. Because I don't want to say, oh, replace the doctors. No, an addition to make the doctor's job easier and make it not as stressful where the doctor has to figure everything out. Where if you have all of this information, the doctor can make a better diagnosis and an understanding of that patient. And the patient feels seen and heard. And I think that's one thing that, especially for the PVF tribe, is I want women to feel heard. One story, when I was working in corporate, I went on the floor and I walked in the room. This is before COVID. The room was full of the patient. She just had the baby, and there's a full of her family members. And then I was there to do the birth certificate and stuff like that. And everyone was over talking her. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna come back when there's less people in the room. And I gave her the slip. I have like 4 of the patients. I'll come back and see you. And I came back. There was less people in the room. And she looked at me. She's like, thank you. She's like, I have not really felt heard since I have been here, even with my own family. And so I appreciate you. I don't know what that was. It just sparked something in me. I was like, oh, okay. And again, women are typically in healthcare spaces are not heard a lot. It's like, oh, you just need to run that off. It's just, it's part of the process, especially in pregnancy and postpartum. A lot of this, especially the maternity morbidity rate, is high because we are not listening to women, especially with diagnoses like preeclampsia, all these different things. And I've worked with the Preeclampsia Foundation. I'm learning so much of a lot of these things can be caught if you listen, if you look at their medical record, if you document it properly. So there's a paper trail to understand, okay, well, they experienced it during this pregnancy, but they didn't experience it during this pregnancy. How can we make their treatment better?
I think what's amazing that I've learned the most about talking with so many women on this show, specifically about the energy of the room
Yes.
when the woman is delivering for both her and the baby.
Yes.
The energy. It matters. And I go back in my archives of every woman I know that has had troubles either with their pregnancy or even getting pregnant. I go back to like, what was the energy? What was the vibe of your life? Everything is energy. Again, I'm sure there are older generations of women hearing this and being like, oh, we're fine. We did it just fine. Did you?
Right. I'm hearing stories. And again, I think mental health is talked about bizarre, casually. But as you get older and you're like, well, you are actually impacted by the mental health by how you communicate to people and all these other things. And again, elders are like, no, I'm not. And we're just like, okay. And you're correct about energy. I interviewed a doula, and she was like one of my first steps into maternal health outside of the corporate space. And she talked about like, we change the energy of the room. You motivate and you get them to a mental space where they're energetically and mentally and emotionally there and they're present. We want them present in all the things. Like even she used Beyonce as an example where Beyonce talked about it in her documentary where she's like, I had to be present and be there during my delivery so I could be there for my baby. And I think people, again, even in the medical space, sometimes don't attest to energy. They're like,
Right.
we're done. We did what we need to do. Very kind of clinical, which I understand, but at the same time, the
Yeah.
energy impacts the experience.
Because like you got the baby out, but is the baby okay? And is the mom okay?
Right.
Energetic in all. And I wonder if we didn't focus more on the energy, how that would impact postpartum.
Ooh. And postpartum is basically a lot of mental health. Are you okay? And again, the studies and the work I've done with Postpartum Support International, a lot of the energy goes to the baby, and rightfully so. But the mom is a part of that journey as well. And you have to energetically check on her to make sure she's good, to make sure that she's baby blues and past baby blues, because baby blues ends at a point, it extends to different things in postpartum that can impact not just the mom, but even the partner. And there's a study that basically is like, if the birthing parent has postpartum depression, it increases in the other partner 50%. So it's just like, it impacts the entire family, just not just the mom. And it's a lot.
And that plays into how everybody does once they get home and into child life. It's the whole thing.
1000%.
So you brought up something earlier that I want to come back to. You had reposted this on LinkedIn. We have to talk about skin tone and healthcare.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me more about why you reposted this? Tell me more about, for those who don't know, what are we talking about with skin tone and healthcare?
So skin tone, and I can attest to it because I learned it in one of my medical classes at FAMU. When you go to the doctor, I'm of darker hue. Sometimes doctors kind of focus on a particular skin tone of, oh, well, finding a vein, finding the blue vein in the arm. And I just came from the doctor today where it's harder on my skin tone, who is darker, to find certain veins. And then that's when certain healthcare aspects get a little bit trickier and get a little bit more, how do I say it? Not so kind. And I think there's a bit of confusion and kerfuffle from the healthcare provider because they are not familiar with working with darker skin tones. I've had it happen to me a couple times going to the doctor and even going to the hospital, and where I've vocally asked, do you know how to find a vein in darker skin? Do you know how to do this? Do you A, B, C, D, E, F, G? And then a lot of times like, yeah, and then they don't, and then I'm picked 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 times where I'm bleeding profusely and I'm marked up like a pincushion. So being mindful of darker skin when you're treating healthcare symptoms, all these things look different comparatively to white skin. It is what it is. And I don't think in current healthcare textbooks that is communicated because the communication of certain healthcare is very focused on, quote, the default, which is being white skin, but they're different skin tones.
And the default is still
Yes.
white man.
And even certain healthcare, like again, with high blood pressure and like even checking for like heart attacks, the default is a white man. Yeah. Where women have different symptoms, pain in the arm, all these different things are different. And so there's a great Black doctor that I follow where he makes great artist illustrations of what symptoms in white skin look like comparatively to Black skin. Like, what does chicken pox look like on Black skin compared to white skin? Because it looks different. And
amazing.
Look,
it's just, you're like, listen.
You can hear the exasperation of my voice because I'm so passionate. I'm being mindful of the words that I am using because of the Aries passion in me.
Wow, let's go.
And I'm very, very communicative with the type of doctors that I have of, do you understand what this means? I communicate, like, I'm not being offensive. I'm not trying to insult you, but I know you're trained on one particular skin type. I need to know if you're going to poke me 8 different times and do. And I already have family members like my husband. He's a 6'4", blonde hair, blue eyed. He'll come in and he'll be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that to her? And even my sister, and she's tall, she's like, what are you doing? And I have family members that will defend me, but I know I have to defend myself when my husband or my sister or my family are not there to defend me. And that's very hard.
It absolutely is, because imagine, and I'll give a personal example. Imagine if you're in a healthcare situation and you feel vulnerable because there's something wrong. So for me, I had cellulitis, which is a skin condition on the top of my vulva. And every male doctor, they were like, oh, we got to get a gynecologist in here. I'm like, y'all, this isn't a gynecologist matter. You could get a dermatologist. That would be helpful. But because it was all men, because of the part, it has to be gynecological. And it just wasn't. And nobody would listen to me. And before I knew it, this man stuck a 4-inch needle into the cellulitis on top of my vulva without anything. That was traumatizing. I felt violated. There was no one in the room with him. And I was a little bit loopy because I was on pain meds. So it was just this whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
I told the nurse when she came back in the room, she's like, what just happened? And my husband was out getting ice or something. You know,
yeah.
You don't want to think that it was like done when everyone left, but it was really odd.
And I think that's, again, you want to go to doctors and clinical people, but sometimes they think so clinically, they're not thinking energetically of what that is impacting the patient. That is something, even when I worked like in corporate and like in the bigger facilities, and even when I talked, because I sit and talk to patients, interview them, and even outside of it, and again, I wear my heart on my sleeve sometimes at work. While I will listen to the patient. I'm like, I'm really sorry that you experienced that. I truly am. Do you need me to grab somebody? Do you need me to grab a nurse? Do you need me to? I will grab some. I'm the very much. I'll grab someone for you. I'll stop this interview and stand in the middle of the pod. Like, there's an issue in this room. I need someone to come help me. I am that type of person, but I don't want to throw the entire baby out with the bathwater. But I'm like, there are a lot of people in healthcare who are good at their job, but their bedside manner is not the best.
I mean, it was so traumatizing. And actually, I know that my cellulitis was created because of all of my corporate trauma.
Yeah.
And so that trauma of him doing that actually added to the cellulitis, and it got worse. So
it unknowingly added more trauma to your experience as a woman in this country. Like, it's kind of like, I can't trust my job and now I can't trust my doctor. Where am I supposed to go and what am I supposed to do?
The nurse was absolutely appalled because I guess there's a policy where you have to, any procedure or anything, even like putting a needle in, you have to have somebody else in the room. And she wasn't. But I didn't know my rights. I didn't know that I could say, no, don't do that. I was on pain meds. I was just like, so it was
And
just,
that's part of the PVF Tribe and the podcast that I have. Like, I have episodes where communicating, hey, this is what's happening. This is what you can do for yourself to advocate for yourself. I think that's one thing that I'm really big on is just advocating for
yeah.
yourself in these situations. Because again, situations like what you just described, unfortunately, are not very far few in between. There's a multitude of stories out there. And even with me, I'm hosting an event called The Climb with Postpartum Support International. And hearing some of the stories from the women that are coming in of their birth experience and their postpartum experience, and that one doctor's appointment that they get at 6 weeks to make sure that they are not bleeding, and like, oh, but you're good though, right? Good for you. And I'm just like, there needs to be more. And again, I understand that the healthcare system is really swamped with everything, but energetically, it impacts everything. It impacts the patients. And again, I'm finding finding my words. I'm finding it. It really just makes me feel some type of way, especially when women are not heard. Because again, women are the foundation of
Mm.
healthcare. And I don't think a lot of people realize that women are the foundation of healthcare. And if you do not support the foundation, you have nothing. Literally, you might as well throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. And honestly, sometimes I feel that's where we're at with healthcare. And currently, where things are unfortunately full transparency, I was working with the National Institute of Health at end of last year to work on some funding for my business to focus on some research for like fitness for pre and postnatal everything. In mid-January, I got a lovely email stating the funding got snatched. I was just like, oh no, that's not a good, no, I don't like that. But that doesn't stop me from wanting to help people and do the work. My mom has a saying, like, you need to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. I'm like, okay, so plan A didn't work. So we're going to do the plan B. We're going to keep the business going. We're going to find out. We're going to network. We're going to work with the Preeclampsia Foundation. We're going to work with Postpartum Support International. We're going to work with people in our community. Pluto and Aquarius, we're going to work with the community and make this work. Because right now, certain systems in place aren't working, but I still want to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. I mean, same. That's why, uh, I almost have a vibe of like, let them, meaning let all the systems implode.
Yep.
Yikes. Yikes. I know everybody, yikes. But and they're at such a fever pitch. If we look at any system, what if they did implode and that's what we needed to start anew?
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, okay, let them.
And you kind of get to rebuild. You're like, okay, I see what worked and what did not work. Let's see if we can rebuild and make it better and make improvements. I think again, the system is so rigid and so
Yeah.
like it's either the square or the
Yeah.
I have a circle, the
Yeah.
circle or the square. But I'm like,
Yeah.
but not everyone's a circle and a square. Like I'm not a circle or a square. I could be a star. I could be a
Right.
rectangle. And I'm like, it needs to be adjustable to where it fits the mold.
And
Basically.
I think somebody was like, well, we don't really have time to attune to every unique individual on the planet. I was like, oh, well, that's the first problem. So
Basically.
that's the ask is like you should be able to attune to every individual, especially when it comes to something like health. So
Hmm.
we're getting there and well, we're not getting there, but we're creating there. And sometimes you just have to let it all come down to then create what you need. So
Yeah.
that's where I kind of sit. So, Brittany, as we start to wind down, what would you say to those amazing healthcare workers or advocates like yourself out there that see that the only capacity is the copy paste or the cookie cutter,
Hmm.
and they so badly want to do things differently, and they themselves either don't have the time or don't get the grace or have been even like reprimanded for trying to do differently? What would you share with those folks?
It's not you. That's the first thing. And I think that's something that I desperately needed to hear. Like, it's not you. You do have a big heart. It's just, again, we talked about it. The system set in place is not does not enable a big heart. It enables the cookie cutter system. And that's okay to acknowledge, like, you know what? This is the system I'm working in. Do what you can within the parameters you can. But at the same time, if you have the energy and time and support, build something outside of that system. Honestly, build your own connections and build your own version of what is working for you outside. And honestly, that was my saving grace, even during the pandemic. That was my saving grace, finding something that works for you outside of the system. And again, I think growing up, a lot of us in healthcare, because again, I grew up with a lot of healthcare workers. Like my grandmother was an ER nurse, my grandfather was a director of respiratory therapy, my uncle's a pharmacist. And so you see like their job and the system is everything that they know and everything that they love. But when pushing comes to shove and they have to leave, it's kind of like, well, what do I have outside of this system? Appreciate what the system is offering you, the information, the education, all the things, but be prepared for when you have to pull that parachute, you have your own on the outside. You have your own support on the outside. And again, I think kind of like how you said it, where you're like, here are my 2 weeks. I can't do this anymore. You not sitting there scrambling. My God, what am I supposed to do? This was my entire livelihood. And again, you are enough. And it's okay if you're on the island by yourself. Trust me, it is not an easy thing. Just find your support. Get you a good therapist. I have mine. My therapist is amazing. My lady is amazing. And you got this. Don't doubt yourself. Don't make yourself small. Keep yourself in those rooms as long as you mentally can be there, and then leave when your energy is not reflected back. And I think that's another thing I would tell myself. Once you're sitting at your desk crying and just bawling in tears, trying to hide your tears, that is your sign that it's time for you to go, my love. It's time for you to go.
Brittany, where can we find you and how do we support your work?
So you can follow me on Instagram, Threads at the PV_tribe. You can follow me at Prismatic Venus Fitness. That's the website. The blog is there. I just did an amazing blog on cultural wellness and the HBCU experience, how it impacts people of color. And the podcast is there. I have a YouTube page, Prismatic Venus Fitness. I just posted an interview for last month for suicide awareness, where I interviewed a mental health therapist about the impacts of motherhood and being a mother in corporate spaces. And then just follow me. You'll see updates from the climb and all the work that I'm doing and all the upcoming things that I have coming.
Amazing. Closing remarks as we wrap up.
The world is crazy, but you're a light in this world. You matter to somebody, and it is okay if there is a time when you don't want to be a light and you need to take a break. And that is something that I've had to learn the hard way. Again, Aries, I am a bright, shining beacon of light to everybody. But if you don't have enough to pour into somebody else's cup, you're not going to have enough for yourself. So please be mindful that you are a light, but you need to protect your light when it's kind of like, okay, girl, I'm tired. You got this, right? I love that for you. Goodbye. It doesn't walk away.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Amy. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.